This one was posted 19 hours ago by The Eagle Strikes, and it is. Do you see him yet? He watches from hidden hovels. When looked in the right place, I think anyone can see him. Anywhere, anytime, but you wouldn't want to find him. Still, if you do, then you would do well to get on your knees and pray. Pray to any holy thing that might exist in this world of nightmares, or find a way to save yourself, as I have. I'm sorry. In the early hours of the morning, I was watching my favorite film, Shaun of the Dead, a comedic masterpiece that I've seen roughly 40 times in my life. I know every last line of dialogue, every scene, every character, minor and major. But I didn't recognize him. The man in the back of the pub, and then again at the end of the film. In the shadows by the side of the house, a man of average build, a little under 6 foot tall, dressed in a suit of a muted green material. It looked as if he had fashioned clothes out of something unorthodox, something familiar. The man unnerved me in ways I didn't yet understand. The only thing that set him apart from any ordinary man, bar his unusual attire, was his eyes. Oval shape, but positioned vertically, not horizontally on his face. I felt a deep, dire dread. Something terrible is coming, and I knew it. Redditors confirmed that there was no such man in any version of Shaun the Dead, not in any director's cut or bonus material. I could chalk it up to an inexplicable fan edit. But it was my DVD. Yes, I know that's old school, but it's a disc. I've used it, as I say, about 40 times. That man never used to be there. And then I received a strange piece of advice from one particular commenter. He spares you and chooses another victim. If their suit matches yours first, you'll know what that means. I thought about that oddly unsettling comment as I got ready for bed. The man's suit. Why was it so familiar? It seemed to be fabricated from some unusual material, but that wasn't it. That wasn't why it unsettled me. Why did I recognize it? The curtains. The bedroom curtains. Gray-green drapes as I stared at the material, identical to the fabric that a shadowy man's suit. A coldness spread across my skin, tightening it to my skeleton like a shrunken glove. That's when the true horror of my situation struck. I saw something for a fleeting moment between two curtains. I saw him. The man. His gray-green suit blended into the drapes. He was one with the fabric, too frozen to move, too petrified to think. I found myself staring into those lopsided eyes, two narrow, lifeless slits observing me from darkness. I felt a terror beyond anything primal. After all, we are not meant to see such things. I fully believe that. I was never meant to find them in that film or between my curtains. When my limbs finally came unstuck, I turned from the horrifying man to curtains. I ran for my life. I hopped into my car at 3 a.m. and drove far from my house. But nowhere it seemed was far enough. Standing beside the bus stop at the edge of town was the man again. But he wore a suit of a different fabric. Leather, black, striped leather, my car seat. And before that thought has even fully formulated in my head, my eyes drifted from the rearview mirror. I screamed. In the back was the man with the vertical oval eyes and a clothes that melted into the very seat of which he sat. Mouth hanging agape in unfathomable horror, I found myself suddenly choking. One hand shakily on the wheel as the car started to swerve in the road. I used my spare hand to reach into my throat. I can't quite explain the vomiting-inducing, horrifying hell producing an endless strand of leather. Yes, strand. From the back of my throat. My eyes watered, and the car swerved onto the street. My car swerved into a tree. I woke to find myself in a hospital bed. The doctors informed me that they saw no sign of a long leather strand in my throat. They said I had a concussion. I was probably misremembering the events leading up to the crash. But I knew what I'd seen, just as plainly as I knew that was happening when I saw, for a brief haunting moment, a flicker of a shape between two of the doctors, the lurking man in a suit made of the same fabric as a hospital gown. I shrieked for help, but no sound escaped my lips. I soundlessly stared at the hospital staff as they left the room, eyes watering as I eternally screeched for them to save me. Lying in that darkened space, I slowly looked down at the hospital gown on my body, and the most terrifying thing happened. It started to squeeze. Squeezed until my compressed lungs felt unable to fill with air. I pulled myself upright and silently again, screamed at the sight in the mirror opposite the bed. My eyes were vertical oval slits. They weren't my eyes at all. I was gazing into the suited man's face. I started to claw at the hospital gown, tearing it from my body and toppling onto the floor in a naked, shivering heap. As I crawled away from the pieces of my tattered clothes on the floor, I saw something so ghastly my heart is still racing an hour later. The man's seemingly dismembered head lay beneath the ruined gown, surveying me from a shadow recess. Below his topsy-turvy eyes, he did not smile, did not frown, did not express anything. His neutral lips, as rigidly straight as his vertical eyes, were simply there. I did not and still did not know what that man wants from me, but I grabbed my phone and fled the room, barely cognizant of the fact that I was fully nude. I locked myself in the cupboard and jotted down the story. This terrible story, but why? Why would I tell you about this terrible, terrifying man? Well, I pray for one of you to have a matching suit. I'm sorry. Do you see him yet? And that's the end of the story. Honestly, I honestly really like that one too. That was actually really good. The stories been coming out recently though have been really good. I give that 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10. There we go. 8 out of 10. That is really good though. I actually really enjoyed that one. That gets I'll vote. One thing I really enjoyed the most about that story though, how they mentioned the Shaun of the Dead bat. I don't know if I ever said this on stream though, or ever in a video, but I actually do have a replica of the cricket bat that they used in Shaun of the Dead in my room. It's right next to my closet, so if I wake up I can just grab the baseball bat and go to war. But I'm really glad that they actually used a form of media to add the terrifying shadowy man anymore. Okay, so let me take one last sip of my drink and then I'll get going. Okay, so I'm sorry, it's taking a lot longer. I'm trying to get all the saliva out of my mouth. Sorry about that. Okay, so this story was posted 10 hours ago by Wonderland ESS. And the story is called Boo. When I was younger, each and every icebreaker I used in class was the same. Hi, my name is Melanie, and I have a little brother. It's boring for the average person. This shouldn't even count as a fact, but for me, it was everything. I was 14 years older than my brother, and my parents tried for years to have a child in vitro. Hormonal, family planning, adoption, and for whatever reason, no matter how desperate my parents or my mother got, it seemed like we will always be a family of 3, but nothing worked. And I slipped easily into my 9th year of high school before the news was broken to me. Our family of 3 would be soon to be a family of 4. My parents were used to this. They already had me, and while it took some time to get back into the ropes of a young child, we were equal in their eyes. But Matthew was new, and we had such a large age gap that I worried, rightfully so, that I would never be treated like a sister. Many people thought he was my own kid, even, so I constantly tried to make the sibling connection instead of being treated as a weird aunt during family time and holidays in the future. Peekaboo, as a baby, Peekaboo. As a baby, he was entertained by me suddenly appearing or disappearing. As a toddler, it almost became a game like hide and seek. We could spend hours a day, either him looking for me or me hiding behind something to scare a 3-year-old. He was never scared though, not for long at least. His eyes would get wide and he would gasp from the surprise, but soon the cutest eruption of giggles would escape from his little cherub? 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 I think so. I think that's it. When he got a little older, the game changed again and suddenly it was his turn to boo me. By this time, I was in my young 20s, in the middle of college. My brother was still my world, but even I could get annoyed with my 12th time in the hour he tried and failed to scare me again. So I would ignore him. If he hid underneath my bed, I'd bring up my legs so he couldn't grab me and try to scare me. I opened the doors either all the way so he couldn't stand behind them or closed them completely as an outside of mind tactic. Our little game evolved to have little rules. Maddie was always the spooker, and no matter what he did, I couldn't acknowledge or notice his presence. And if I did, I pretend like I didn't. What can I say? A part of being the older sibling is winning, even if I had to cheat. Maddie took it as a challenge. He'd find a way to hide that I had to notice him, or try to draw my attention. He'd win if he managed to surprise me, or get me to acknowledge his presence so he can say, "Boo." I was a bit too old now to hide and cram myself into these hiding spots, but Maddie was still 12, and though he didn't do it nearly as much as he used to, it was still good to hear. It was still good for a laugh, and I took it in good stride when he acted in moderation. This morning, though, he was really pissing me off. I arrived at my parents' house around 1. I was in the area after a job interview with an A-wire, and I decided to chill at home rather than try to battle out with rush hour traffic. I turned on television. The internet worked in the house, but reception where my parents lived was horrible. My phone was practically useless except for emergency calls, and after an hour or so, I was wondering where my parents were today. But I knew where my brother was. He was hiding in the bathroom after all. I spotted him as soon as I walked through the hall to the living room. In the crack of the door, I saw him reflected in the mirror. He was probably hoping to scare me since I usually barreled in and headed straight to the bathroom to pee. I'm just surprised he managed to get inside without me hearing a peep since I just happened to stop by. I had to admire his dedication though. The bathroom light wasn't on, and though I could see part of his clothes behind the shower curtain, it didn't seem he had any of his phones or electronics. He was just wasting time. His time. 5 minutes, then 10 minutes go by. Usually after 15, he comes out of the hiding spot, ridiculing me for being so oblivious or simply having run out of patience. But this time it's been over an episode of a TV show, and he hadn't even given up yet. Maybe he was at the age when he didn't want to let pride get the best of him, but I did have to pee. I ended up using my parents' bathroom before turning off the television so I can go back into my old room. Most of the things were changed, but I liked sitting at the windowsill. I cracked open my computer. Maddie will come in here soon, or my parents ought to be home by any minute considering I don't remember them ever leaving the home alone before. I wasn't allowed to spend hours at home until I was 13. Even in daytime, I guess the differences between the first kid and the second kid were completely different. Maddie at least had more determination than I did, because I could see him peeking at me through the closet door this time. It was barely open a slit, and though I couldn't stare long, I saw the white of his eyes staring at me. For the first time, I actually felt a bit unnerved. Maybe this was his new plan. Freak me out that I would react or obviously noticed him in my peripheral. So I decided to double down. I popped in my earphones and started clicking at the keys and trying my best to pretend like I couldn't see him. It's been an hour now, and I don't know how he's done it. Maddie hasn't spoken or shifted once. Wasn't he uncomfortable? He had been laying down on one of the shelves, his head fully tilted, but he wasn't resting it against a pillow or anything. He just held it there, never making a sound. Never blinking. Halfway through, I got up and opened the sliding closet door on the other side, grabbing a long front jacket as if it was something so important. Really, it was just my excuse to properly close the sliding closet door that squeaked as a tiny real sweat as they have my whole life. Enough was enough, I thought. I went to the fridge and grabbed 2 sodas. He was certainly more creative than usual, but he was getting older and this sort of behavior wouldn't be cute if he decided to take this game to someone else. I heard some banging and a few thumps from my old room. He must have been trying to get out of a spot now. Good luck, I thought. The door was a bitch to open from the inside, and from the sound of it, he can't even push it open from the inside. I have to let him out. My body turned cold the moment I walked back to my room, because there, in the corner of the window, I saw Maddie. He wasn't in the closet anymore. His hair was different, sticky, and seemingly matted. He was partially hidden by the gutter drain trailing down the house, but I could see him half of his face. His eyes were bright and almost maniacal, as if he's urging me to give in to notice him. My grip on the 2 sodas tightened, and I averted my eyes. I didn't realize he was still stuck on this. And as though I had came in with the idea of congratulating him for his perseverance, suddenly when I felt his eyes on me, I couldn't. I was scared of a 12-year-old. I took both of the sodas right then and opened them, sitting on the windowsill. His face was in the corner behind the post. I chugged the first one and gradually began to sip at the second, as if they were both for me this whole time. I don't know how to describe the terror I felt. His face was hardly a foot or 2 away, and I had purposely craned my head in an unnatural way just to... And I had to purposefully crane my head in an unnatural way just so he was hardly in my peripheral. But he was looking at me this whole time. His face was extremely dirty, like he hadn't washed in a while. I could see something glistening off his hair and forehead, and somehow his skin just didn't look quite right. What scared me most, however, was how quickly he had moved. I guess you can say Maddie and I are pretty skilled, but I had barely left the room to walk to the kitchen and back, so how did he get outside? The window doesn't open, and he never left. Not to mention our house was on some stilts. He would have never had climbed the gutter up a couple feet, or had climbed out from our window and climbed over somehow by holding onto the brick wall. He wasn't tall enough yet for this to be an easy endeavor. And he certainly wasn't strong enough to do it for an hour. My hands shook as I typed and searched leisurely through Facebook and Reddit. And ultimately, when my phone died, I decided to give up and just go home. My parents still weren't back even as I grabbed my things and a couple of leftovers for dinner, and drove all the way back to my little studio. It was completely different than my parents' home. My doors opened up to the kitchen, and then my walk-in closet that I had to walk through each time to get to my bedroom. It was small, but it was just me. I pulled on my closet doors. Man, 4th story in, and my reading capability just went out the window. Sorry about that. I pulled my closet doors closed when my phone started to turn on with it. A bunch of notifications from my mom, my dad, and my grandparents, and my cousins. Where are you? Why aren't you answering? Jesus Christ, look at your phone. Melanie, call me. Confusion sprouted, and it felt like I was punched in the gut. This whole time I was lazing about my home and there seemed to be an emergency. I called my mom. "Have you seen Matthew?" She answered on the first ring, her voice trembled and choking back a sob. She sounded like she was in the middle of a panic attack. I opened my mouth to respond, but no sound came out at first. Yeah. Oh, thank God. Relief buckled through her as sobs overtook them. And I could hear some sort of exchange between her and my dad. "Melanie, is he with you?" "No, he was home." "When?" I had my phone on speaker, scrolling through my texts to see when I had gotten to the house. It seemed my phone finally caught up, including my calendar. Maddie has his inter-regional volleyball tournament today. I had been so bummed about not being able to make it, but after the shitty interview, it has slipped my mind today. He can't be home. We haven't even left the convention, but he went to the bathroom. And when he didn't come out, we checked. "Melanie, you need to sit down," but something might have happened to him. The cops won't let us see, but someone said something that there being so much blood and signs of. Terror encapsulated my body. Not only because my father wasn't the kind of person to joke about these things, and the way my mother sounded wasn't something someone can just act out. Not even that he had an afternoon session game. And there was no way he could have just walked from the convention home by the time I got there. But because I saw Maddie standing in my closet again, in a little studio. In my little studio, I locked once I walked in. The ends of his lip curled into an unnatural grin. I could see where the lips bled from the flesh being taut. The grin ripped different areas open. The closet door was open just a crack. His fingers curled around the door frame, and they were larger than mine. Muddy and dark with flecks of something dark and brown. Maddie was larger. I was horrified by the body I could see through the crack a few inches. His grin only grew. I couldn't pull my eyes away. The skin was around the edges of his eyes and mouth, and I realized were slapped onto his face, slagging in some places whereas the others, like the edges of his chin and forehead. I realized were taut because he has something pulling the skin back to keep in place. It was wearing Maddie's skin. Boo. Wow. That one was really fucking good. Holy shit, that story is really fucking good. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, again, I like to apologize for me kinda stumbling over my words and all that stuff. This is one take, after all. So, hopefully y'all still enjoyed. I honestly have a lot of fun making these videos. Yet again, I want to say thank you guys so much for the love and support on these videos the past, couple of weeks. I think I've been doing this for like 2 weeks now. But I really want to say thank you guys so much for the love and support. Yet again, I like to apologize for me not having any really good way to edit the videos or make the videos a lot better. But I still really enjoy making these, and I really hope you all enjoy. So, I don't want to keep you guys here any longer. I really don't say thank you guys so much for, watching this video. If you watched it all the way through, thank you. I like to apologize for me, being really bad at reading. I wasn't as bad as before, though. Like, I can read perfectly fine in my head, just when speaking is, a whole different thing. But hopefully y'all enjoyed this video. I don't say thank you guys so much for your love and support. I don't want to keep you guys here any longer, even though I probably said that like 4 or 5 times. This video will be out tomorrow on June 20th, 2023. Hopefully the auto schedule doesn't mess up this time. So yeah, I want to say thank you guys so much for everything. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone. Also, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll keep making them if you guys want more of them. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye, everyone.